requiring people to have some sort of life insurance is really important. And that would open the door for people to get better educated on it. But if we're not requiring anyone to buy a certain product, I think whenever you graduate high school or you graduate college or something, that their final stop before they hand you your diploma is to meet with a financial advisor. I think it's a totally different perspective of how to do it. But I just think that having that one interaction with someone when you're graduating and life's out in front of you, no matter what it is, would probably change the way people perceive financial security professionals and their accessibility. And at least at a minimum, might help you not put all the money on the credit card and, never get life insurance until you're getting married and you have kids or whatever it might be.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CBS Spotlight. If you are here by mistake, you're in the right place now. I'm Eric Alvarado, along with my co-host, Mr. Ted Hikes.
Hello.
And we are your friendly guides to this world of insurance and wealth management. Today, we're joined by Miss Jen Fox. She is the Vice President of Federal and Political Affairs with Finseca. Jen, welcome. Did I miss anything?
No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We're excited.
Excellent. Absolutely. And Ted, can you get us started with the first question?
I think most of our audience is probably familiar with Finseca, but for those who are not, would you mind giving us just kind of some background on Finseca, who you are as an organization, what your mission is, and just get us a little bit more familiar with what you guys do every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So Finseca is a trade association representing financial security professionals. I like to joke we're the band formerly known as Gamma or ALU or even NAILBA. All of those groups came together to create this organization under the mission of financial security for all. Our job here at the organization is twofold. One is to translate what's happening here in Washington and what's happening around the state capitals to you all and how it's going to affect the clients and advisors you work with. But at the same time, our job is to advocate on your behalf and make sure as policymakers are making these decisions that they take into account what it means for you and the work that you do every day.
So Jen, Finseca represents, over 10,000 financial security professionals. What have you found most rewarding about working with this community?
It's our members and their mission, especially working through COVID. While many professions felt that they were frontline, nurses, doctors, you name it, this profession was also frontline in a completely different way. The businesses that they were helping to save, the families that they were helping, whether it be people who needed life insurance or were feeling relief that they had a life insurance plan in place or an annuity because the market was going crazy. For me, that was a moment in time that I was so proud of the membership that we worked with. And that just continued ever since COVID.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's, it's interesting because you don't think of, well, I didn't at the time think of my advisor as, really frontline, but you're right. They were. I mean, the work that they do every day is vitally important, and especially in a time like COVID.
Absolutely.
And we joked, we called them financial therapists. Right, half the people were freaking out, and your job was just to listen and to say, "No, we've made the right decisions. We've made the right choices. Let's just stay the course." Mm-hmm. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember making a couple phone calls like that myself. So, Jen, I'm curious, what inspired you to transition into the financial security space, and really, how does your background in advocacy and communications help you and support Finseca's mission?
So my first job in Washington, D.C. was actually in the White House in the Office of Presidential Correspondence.
Oh, wow.
And in that job, my job and the office's job was to read all of the mail the president received. And at the time, I worked for President Obama. And so we had a program called the 10 Letters a Day program. And so we were reading the mail and pulling out 10 letters each day that really felt like it was giving the right perspective of what Americans were feeling in that moment, because we were probably about 6 to 8 months behind in the rest of the mail. And so we would pull these letters out. And at the time that I worked there, it was when Obamacare was rolling out. And there was a lot of stuff happening here in Washington.
Sure.
And I saw the power of writing into the president and what that meant for the advocacy work and how people could really have a voice, but they needed to hear, lawmakers needed to hear from constituents. We're not going to know what's going on with your healthcare, what's going to go on with your life if you're not raising your hand and saying, this is how this affects me. And so it was in that moment that I saw, by putting your voices together, they're louder and people will listen to you more often. And so that made me interested in working for a consumer group or a trade group. And so I ended up at the National Restaurant Association. A little bit different from financial security.
Yeah. You said restaurant, right?
Yeah, restaurants.
Okay,
and I say at the same time, there's a lot of similarities. Everyone's got a favorite restaurant. Hopefully all of your listeners have a favorite financial advisor. And it's very important to the fabric of the communities, whether it be restaurants or to financial security professionals. So then I came to Finseca, the time ALU. 6 years later, I'm still here.
Interesting.
Awesome.
I didn't know that about the letter portion of it. Like, just on average, how many letters, just if you could answer it, come into like the White House or that are addressed to the president, like on a weekly or monthly basis? Do you recall?
Too many.
How do you narrow it down to 10?
Yeah. So we had that. We also had the comment line, which is a secret line that you can call and you just complain about what's going on. They can't answer you. We had emails, and then we also ran gifts, which was also a really cool part of our office as well.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's super interesting.
What an interesting gig. That's awesome. Can you share a defining moment, I guess, in your career that helped reinforce your passion for advocacy within the financial services industry?
So last year we were navigating through the Department of Labor's fiduciary rule. And that really would have had an effect not only on our members, but more importantly, their clients and the ability of people to access financial advice and receive financial advice from folks that receive commissions. And we joined hands with a few other trade association groups around this profession, and we were able to really move the needle in the sense of getting people to better understand what the actual effect of this regulation would be. Sometimes it became a game of just getting people to better understand what it means to receive a commission, how people receive financial advice. But we had over 300 meetings from the time the regulation was introduced to when the finalized regulation was released. And that just reinforced the importance of the work that we do, but also to feel the passion from our membership around it was something that I hope to see during tax reform, but I'm not sure I'll see the exact same amount of spirit because it is such an important, key, and crucial issue.
Jen, I know advocacy plays a key role in really kind of shaping financial security policies. Can you kind of go into a little bit more depth on how does Finseca really engage with policymakers themselves to kind of advance the mission overall?
Absolutely. I spend 2 to 3 days a week on Capitol Hill meeting with members of Congress or their staff. Luckily, this week they are on recess, so I get a little bit of a reprieve. But a lot of our work is just around education and meeting with members of Congress and, quite frankly, more importantly, their staff, so they understand the work that this profession does and the impacts to communities, small businesses, and families. But we also engage our membership as well. We have what we call fly-ins. We bring groups into town to meet with lawmakers. We meet with them back home in the district. And just like building a relationship with a client, you can't show up once a year and say, how you doing? You have to put in the effort and the work. And that's a lot of the work that we do here at Finseca, so that when we do have a problem, that they trust us as a resource and they know the information we're giving them is to better folks' lives and constituents' lives, and they can trust us as a good arbiter of truth.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions about the financial security profession, and how does Finseca work to correct those and, I guess, educate people about it?
So in Congress, less than 5% of lawmakers have any experience with insurance, and that includes life insurance, property and casualty, pet insurance. Oh. And so what a lot of the work we're doing is just breaking through the noise and getting them to better understand what actually is life insurance. It's not just Alex Trebek on TV and why it's so important and so key and so crucial. Right. And a lot of times people think that this profession is less than the reputation that they actually deserve and how noble it is. You all are the folks that show up with a check when someone passes away. You're the only ones not asking for money. And people don't quite understand that concept. So a lot of the work that we're doing is getting people to understand the role that life insurance and risk protection and financial planning has in preparing families and businesses for whatever might come. Unfortunately, at the same time, COVID did help me in this a bit because death was all around us and folks better understood what that security blanket felt like of having a life insurance policy in place. So that definitely helped a bit with the reputation.
Yeah, it was like getting like that, sitting at a table and having the tablecloth removed, and you're just like, whoa, what's going on, right? So that was a totally different time. So
yeah,
and you think about a lot of people on Capitol Hill are younger. Their average age of a Hill staffer is like 23 to 27. Most folks are like, oh, I'm too young to have life insurance. So a lot of it is just basic education. No, you're not too young, and you're never going to be healthier than you are today. So go get that life insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
You know, with less than, what'd you say, only about 5% of congressional members and staffers having any background in the insurance world, that sounds like a massive job. And so obviously, your campaigns and getting that message out is important. Would you mind just sharing, an example of maybe a successful advocacy campaign that Finseca has led that really kind of helped impact some of those security policies or financial security policies?
Absolutely. I think the one that comes to mind is Secure 1 and Secure 2.0. These are pieces of legislation that really impacted retirement savings at all different incomes. Now, you'll appreciate this. When I started at Finseca, it was 2019, and they had been working on Secure for years and years and years. We got Secure done within like 2 years of me being here, and then we got Secure 2.0 done like quickly after. And I'm like, this Secure thing is super easy. Everyone loves retirement policy. But really, the legislation that passed has an impact on people from the folks who are saving for retirement and they're new in their careers and they have student loans, all the way up to people who need to do catch-up contributions. And really what we did was create a surround sound of why people at all different levels need to save for retirement. And I know you all know this, but the crisis that we are facing in this country around retirement is impossible. And what can we start doing now that helps us start to chip away at that? And so we were able to create and craft these storytelling from our members for them to help lawmakers understand the impact of what they were seeing in the field and ways that these pieces of legislation would impact the clients and the future clients to come.
Great answer. Hey, Jen, life insurance is often seen as a complex and or misunderstood. How does Finseca advocate for policies that really help more Americans access and really get to understand life insurance?
A lot of the work that we do is focusing on just basic education of lawmakers and their staff. And then we start to layer on of how do we get this out to consumers, right? A good example of something that we did most recently was in California. They were passing legislation that would require financial literacy content to be taught in high schools. Great, but there's nothing in there about insurance or retirement. And so my colleagues on the state team worked to advocate for them to include insurance and retirement in this curriculum so we could have more people understanding this. We've partnered here in Capitol Hill with different caucuses. There's a financial security caucus, so lawmakers who care about financial security. We've also partnered with the Wealth Creation and Financial Literacy Caucus, which is one that I feel really passionate about because they understand the connectivity between understanding how money works and how that then can help you create some wealth on the backside. So we partner with those groups to help to do education work, whether it be financial literacy for small businesses or is it financial literacy for women. And we've brought in Finseca members to educate the staff and their bosses as well. So when they're creating policies, now they have a completely different perspective of how business owners could have succession planning using life insurance.
When you're reaching out, do you have like a campaign or something? Are you emailing that information out? Is it by radio? How is that message actually getting out to the people? I mean, you're not knocking on every single door, are you? And one by one kind of deal, or?
Yeah, some of it is that. Some of it is just making sure we're bringing people together. So we're hosting events on either webinars or in person. Hill staff love free lunches, so we serve them a free lunch and tell them about life insurance.
Yeah.
It's always good to get a free lunch. Financial advisors love free lunches too, I found out. So, Jen, annuities can play, a key role in overall retirement planning, but not only do they, they face some challenges with financial advisors using them, but they also, often face regulatory challenges. How is Finseca working to kind of ensure that annuities continue to remain a viable option for consumers?
Well, first of all, that Secure 2.0 that we talked about created more options for folks to have lifetime income opportunities. So that was awesome to start with. But on the access part is back to this Department of Labor fiduciary rule. Many annuities are sold via commission. And so we had to do a lot of work to help educate lawmakers and their staff for them to understand what an annuity is. I know you all wake up every morning thinking about annuities, but explaining this concept of lifetime income to someone who's 23 and working on Capitol Hill is hard. And so we've had to do a lot of work, and then helping people to better understand the role that they play. I'm sure you all have heard about the Ernst & Young study that said putting permanent life insurance plus annuities and investments together creates better outcomes in retirement. So carrying some of that sort of third-party validation of the work and the role that annuities play and how important they can be, especially in this world with Social Security crisis coming down the pipeline as well.
Yeah.
And that's been helpful. And I think we have to keep up this advocacy work, because I do not want to deal with a fiduciary rule 4.0.
All right. So Jen, with the rising costs of healthcare, long-term care insurance is becoming, ever more increasingly important. What advocacy efforts is Finseca involved in to support better long-term care solutions for people?
So we're actually participating in a long-term care summit here in Washington, hosted by Congressman Tom Suozzi from Long Island, who is incredibly passionate about long-term care, really helping people, again, to understand the role that life insurance and financial security planning can have in long-term care. Most folks think of a standalone long-term care product that we know can be really expensive. And so helping people think about this in ways to really think about their retirement as it includes long-term care. Because what we saw in Washington State a few years ago was they had a requirement that either you had long-term care or you'd have to pay a payroll tax. We saw what happened there. There was a run on the market. And quite frankly, even if you didn't get the long-term care, and you have this long-term care product through Washington Cares, $36,000 for, your lifetime, not really a lot of money. And that's why the education work is so important. And again, my state team is incredible, and they're getting engaged early. We're involved in California and Minnesota and some of the other states that are looking at this, so that lawmakers help create these environments that better public policy can be created. We know long-term care is going to be a problem. We know it's expensive if it's just standalone. So how can we create these public policies that allow for solutions like hybrid products to be accepted, and also, again, be more affordable for folks so that they have this protection? So a lot of it, again, is education. Most people don't even know. And so we're spending a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
It's like the ones that do know are experiencing some kind of long-term care need themselves, right? Or have somebody close to them that is. So
Right.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you the story. We were meeting with a member of staff on Capitol Hill, met with him 4 or 5 times, and it was like a fine meeting, 15 minutes, we're in, we're out. On like the 6th meeting, we go in to meet, and he's like, hey, didn't you tell me your guys do long-term care? And all of a sudden, I was in that meeting for 45 minutes. We got kicked out of the office. We had to go into the hallway because he had a situation in which his parents needed long-term care. And all of a sudden, the planning discussion we've had was suddenly personal. And so you're exactly right, Eric.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Jen, if you could change one policy today to make financial security solutions like life insurance, annuities, long-term care more accessible, what would it be and why?
So this is a tough one for me to choose, but I do think everyone should have life insurance, just like you have to have homeowners insurance or you need car insurance. And so I think requiring people to have some sort of life insurance is really important. And that would open the door for people to get better educated on it. But if we're not requiring anyone to buy a certain product, I think whenever you graduate high school or you graduate college or something, that the final stop before they hand you your diploma is to meet with a financial advisor. I think it's a totally different perspective of how to do it. But I just think that having that one interaction with someone when you're graduating and life's out in front of you, no matter what it is, would probably change the way people perceive financial security professionals and their accessibility. And at least at a minimum might help you not put all the money on the credit card and, never get life insurance until you're getting married and you have kids or whatever it might be.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a
game changer.
Yeah, it's a great answer, because I think about, just as I've had my first ever meeting with a financial planner, where I was from a financial literacy and thinking about my future, thinking about planning, thinking about retirement changed. And every time I meet with my guy again, or I listen to a podcast with a financial planner, like it hits home just a little bit more, and I do a little bit better job thinking about the future. So I love that idea, and I will vote for you, Jen.
Yeah.
You could also be like, my husband makes fun of me, but my party tricks now are like talking about life insurance or corporate owned life insurance or what small businesses can do. And you could tell that we're getting older because people are like, hey, don't you do life insurance? I have a question. And my husband's like, okay, wait, when did you become popular?
Yeah. This used to be the running joke, and now you're actually you're the person everyone wants to talk to. That's funny.
So Finseca serves professionals across various roles and experience levels. How do you ensure that all those different voices are actually represented in your advocacy efforts?
So when I started at the association, I started at ALU, where we really represented folks in just the advanced market space, and they were typically producers. Fast forward to where we are today, we have people that are part of NAILBA, the brokerage community. We have folks that are from the leaders and managers, Gamma. We also still have our original advanced markets folks, as well as people who are just entering into this business. And for me, what's so important is showing how the distribution of life insurance and really holistic financial plans work. The marriage of a managing partner talking about how they recruit someone new into the business, paired that with a producer who is talking about how hard it would be for them to sell life insurance or annuities if Department of Labor fiduciary rule goes through. And then you add in someone who's, a wholesaler or part of the brokerage community where they're trying to just get enough products out to their folks. That holistic picture tells a way better story to lawmakers versus sort of siloing out the advocacy work.
Makes sense.
And to me, I think it's much more successful. And that's why I am so excited that we have almost 11,000 members that really represent all different parts of distribution, who sometimes not everyone's going to care about everything. But we've done a really nice job of trying to marry everyone's perspectives together to tell the holistic story.
Jen, I mean, you have 11,000 members. My guess is of the, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that listen to our podcast, you're going to have a lot of them that are passionate about Finseca's mission. How do we get involved? What's the best way to engage with Finseca and be a part of this so that we can help tell this story?
First and foremost, become a Finseca member, join, and you'll get access to our advocacy work, our newsletters, you name it. But secondly, come to our Advanced Markets Conference. That's hosted June of this year. 2 days of advanced markets content, 1 day up to Capitol Hill. You get to go with about 500 of your closest friends. We handle everything for you. We build your schedules, make sure you're prepped. But you get to go up to Capitol Hill and tell your story. And to me, that makes all the difference in the world. That's cool. Sharing your experience, meeting with lawmakers. They feel deeply overwhelmed by the amount of financial security professionals that are coming into Capitol Hill. And that's what we want them to feel. We want them to know the power of this profession, not only within the profession itself, but the constituents and the clients that it serves.
And is the best way to sign up, is that finseca.com? Is that just kind of where you go?
Finseca.org. Or feel free to reach out to me, Jen Fox, find me on LinkedIn or anything there. But the thing I would just tell you is it's okay to feel nervous to come to Washington. It's okay to feel nervous to tell your story. You probably think these members of Congress know a lot, and quite frankly, they don't. But they want to, and they want to have a good resource like you all, that you are to your advisors, to your clients, to your families. And so don't be afraid. Just come and share your story. I could bet you probably 9 times out of 10, you know more than the person you're talking to. And at the end of the day, they want to hear what it really means and the impact it is to people. So come join us, see what it's like, get a little hot because it'll be June in DC, and we'll bring it back to May.
Perfect. So
Beautiful.
finseca.org for our audience. We'll link that in the show notes. All right, Jen. Now that we've talked, a fair amount about Finseca's mission and how to get our advisors involved with that mission and engage with Finseca, what are some of the biggest legislative or regulatory challenges that are currently facing financial security professionals?
Great question.
Well, we are going to rewrite the tax code this year. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act coming to a full sunset at the end of 2025. And that's really what's on the minds of lawmakers here in Washington. How do we get this big, beautiful bill done that President Trump wants? And there's two pieces of that make us nervous, or we need to make sure we're paying attention. First and foremost, always, is making sure that this industry is not a pay-for, whether it be the products and the companies that we work with, or is it product types like business uses of life insurance. We want to make sure that folks aren't thinking about taxing anything to do with the product set or the companies that manufacture them. Second is the consistency in the planning that our members do. It's so important that you have a tax code that works and that you can plan for not only today or for tomorrow, but for the long term. So thinking about 199A, the small business deduction, if you're not quite sure you're going to be able to take that next year, or your clients are not quite sure they're going to be able to take it next year, harder to make financial decisions. And so a lot of our work now is making sure we have a tax code that works and sticks around for a while so that you all can plan within it. And so a lot of defense, a little bit of offense right now, but really making sure as we think about the size of this bill, that they're not shaking the couch cushions and finding something to do with our products that's in there. I mentioned earlier, less than 5% of lawmakers have experience with life insurance, any insurance. If you look at where we are today, of the 218 Republicans in the House conference, or in the House of Representatives, 150 of them came to Washington after 2017, after that first tax bill was written. So you think about the knowledge and the resources we need to provide so folks understand some of the decision makings that happen then, it's insurmountable. And so that is, again, why, one, I am very employed, but two, we need your help educating lawmakers.
Well, rewriting the tax bill sounds like, a pretty small job. So it's a good thing that you're there, because we know how quickly you got Secure Act through. So it will be this is on your shoulders to get the tax bill through too.
Right.
That's right, Ted.
So Jen, sounds like you guys have a lot on your plate there, and we appreciate you taking time, of course, to join us today. We do got a kind of a fun question we like to ask all of our guests, and I guess so. If your role at Finseca, I guess, was a blockbuster movie, what would it be?
Wonder Woman.
Oh,
okay. I like it. Are you
going to give us some why? A little why? I mean, I think I can guess.
Leave it to the imagination.
Got it.
No. It's been an incredible opportunity to work at this organization, but the work that we do, bringing people along and protecting them, and protecting the advocacy work, and really just advocating on behalf of what an incredible profession it is that I get to serve every day. Like I wake up every day feeling like Wonder Woman.
Awesome.
I might not be nearly as famous as she, but we're working on it.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
That's
you get that tax code passed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'll wear a Jen Fox shirt for sure. So
yeah, so will I. We gotta get you like a cool logo. So
right.
Again, once we get tax done, then we'll have people to do that.
Yeah, that's true. We'll get people on it.
Jen, great stuff. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing your insights with us. We really, really appreciate it. And for everyone out there, I am Eric Alvarado along with Mr. Ted Hikes. And this has been CBS Spotlight, your friendly conversation about insurance and wealth advising come together. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you all next time, and make sure you join Finseca.
Yeah, Finseca.org. Thanks, Jen. We really appreciate it. It was an amazing session. Had a lot of fun. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, both.